We continue the conversation with an exciting fireside chat. Joining Brad Smith on stage, we would like to invite Peng Xiao, Group CEO of G42, and Samer Abu-Ltaif, President of Microsoft Europe, Middle East and Africa. Please welcome Brad, Peng, and Samer.
Please. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Brad, for a very insightful speech. And thank you for the commitment. Quite an eventful week in UAE. And Peng, it's a pleasure to have you here. And it's my honor to facilitate this discussion with both of you. In fact, the week started with a significant announcement that we made as Microsoft in UAE, $15.2 billion, followed by the Global AI Summit, where both G42 and Microsoft have facilitated a very good discussion about AI, and the emphasis of technology, talent, and trust has prevailed in order for AI diffusion to happen. Today, I want to start with you, Peng. You keep talking about the intelligence grid. And I would like to know, across the physical and the digital infrastructure that the world is building, and you as G42 is playing a key role there, how this will come to practice, how people, nations are going to consume this intelligence, and what role you foresee as a global partner of Microsoft that Microsoft would play.
Thank you, Samer, and thank you, Brad, in particular, for being here with us. When I see Brad is not wearing a tie, I know this is an event of real substance. We're going to get into technical details. By the way, before I get to answer your question, Samer, allow me to say this to this incredible audience. I had the good fortune just a couple of weeks ago to visit your headquarters in Redmond, and I was able to visit, among your very first guests, your new modulus next to your brand new office on campus. I think that modulus, you call it modulus?
Yeah, we do. We call it a modulus. It is.
I think that's a symbol of really the impact of this region has made on what you do, Brad. And I was actually very touched to see that. We had a great discussion. And now we're here to celebrate this amazing milestone you mentioned earlier, Samer, that earlier this week, Brad shared with the world since 2023, when this relationship began, this partnership in earnest, leading up to the coming years, the double-digit billion-dollar real commitment from Microsoft to this entire region, and we're very grateful. I think our partnership is really built on top of this core concept of intelligence grid. We really gave birth to this concept together. I remember one of my first meetings with Brad. He educated me on this interesting concept, which was born, I think, right at the start of the Ukraine-Russian conflict, when nations could literally take out each other's digital infrastructure that cannot be reproduced again. Once it's wiped out, it's wiped out if you don't have redundancy, if you don't have good connectivity. That got us thinking about this AI development around the world. It's far more than just a few isolated centers of development, of training, of influencing. It's really about connectivity. It's about having redundancy. And redundancy means to have trust in each other. So we coined this term, intelligence grid, about 2 years ago. The idea there is that, yes, not every nation has the good fortune to have cheap energy, capital, and connectivity to build AI infrastructure. However, those who have those resources should build for the world. And this, by definition, the grid is the network through which we'll promote what Brad mentioned earlier as AI diffusion. So we view this as a responsibility for G42, for the UAE, given the resources we do have, and the trust we have at the G2G level with so many nations across the global south, you mentioned earlier, Brad. We can become that center of gravity to build this compute with the support of Microsoft to ensure it's confidential, it's trusted, and then serve other nations from here. So this is now a core mission for us. We are really a now infrastructure builder, and we are able to already leveraging the resources in the UAE, helping other nations, including our friends in Europe and even in the US.
Yeah, I think, Brad, building on what Peng mentioned around the fact that UAE is really far now from just using or adopting AI. They have moved towards building infrastructure, authoring models, and I know that we also this week announced that they are now a partner of Microsoft for NeoCloud. From that perspective of the role that UAE is playing, how do you foresee UAE becoming a net exporter of AI? This is a country that leverages its traditional energy in terms of oil and gas to light up industries globally. Today they see a shift.
Nuclear also.
Yeah, they see a shift from oil wells to data wells. What's your perspective? I mean, as a global leader, you see other countries, but you are witnessing what's happening here in UAE.
Well, first of all, I think it's interesting to think about what does it mean to export AI? And I think there's at least two very distinct and important things, and there may be others that occur to the two of you. First, obviously, is I'll call it AI as a service at the infrastructure and platform level, meaning you don't have to live in a country to utilize the GPUs and AI infrastructure in that country. And that's part of where the UAE is going as a country with the capacity to build out infrastructure at such large scale based on cheap energy. But it takes more than that. You need high volume or high capacity, low latency cables, which are being laid. You need to obviously bring down the time it takes for somebody in another part of the world to access that technology. And as G42 has recognized, because of the great geographic location of the UAE and these investments, there may be 4 billion people, half the population of the world, that would have the ability to rely on these services. Now, you do have to have the trust in place for people in other countries, including their governments, to send data and use these services, and that is in part why the trust factor is so important. But the second thing is then AI in the form of products in new technologies. And this is where a company like G42, I'm very excited as somebody who sits on the board and sat through a board meeting on Tuesday morning just to see the new services that are emerging that can be deployed in other countries. And if you just think about the last 25 years, one of the phrases that it gave birth to was a digital native, basically somebody who might have been born in an age where there was always digital technology, or even if not, always lived on the basis of digital technology. Well, now the new phrase, not surprisingly, I know many of you know it already, is becoming an AI native. And what it means for an individual, a company, a government, or even a country is to basically use AI in almost ubiquitous manner as part of everyday life. And I think part of being an AI native for many people is not just to use the technology, but to actually start to create it themselves. It is one of the defining features of AI that is different from almost every other technology that came before it, because to be a user is also to have the opportunity to be a builder. And I was just so inspired meeting people who work in our customers, or just seeing at G42 itself, people who don't know how to code, who don't need to know how to code, but they are creating agents to improve all kinds of things that they do. And believe me, I'm going to go back to the Seattle area and I'm going to say, we have to do a better job ourselves, because oftentimes it's the smallest and the newest companies that are the fastest to embrace this. But this is so clearly the future. And I think that 59.4% number shows that this country has the opportunity to be the frontier country, the AI frontier country, an AI native country. And if it does that, then you're going to have intellectual property that will be created that can also be exported and deployed around the world.
Thank you, Brad. Building on that again, Peng, it feels and we're experiencing that UAE is going all in. And you as G42, you have moved from being the national champion on behalf of the country, partnering with us, partnering with the industry, to take UAE on a journey of innovation on AI to another level. What we have witnessed in parallel, however, it goes beyond infrastructure, beyond the supply of the energy that will power the grid, the intelligent grid that you referred to. What you're doing in partnership and together with MBZ University of AI is really inspiring in the context of not only enabling the whole nation at the level of users in government and across industries, but the enablement of scientists, builders, that will contribute not only to the infrastructure, but to the knowledge capital that is needed in order to power and empower that grid. Can you reflect a little bit on the work that you're doing here in that very specific domain?
A great question. Thank you for that, Samer. Before getting into MBZUI and our very special partnership with them, I want to outline this architecture, a relatively new definition I've given to G42's ecosystem we're building, and how this leads into the R&D area you touched on. Once again, inspired by my discussions with our partners at Microsoft. In this case, we were together with you and Satya recently, Brad, where I asked Satya, how do you see the AI industry moving forward? What are the key levers, key drivers, which areas we need to focus on? And he defined two interesting domains of AI development, which immediately struck me as the right architecture for G42 as well. As most of you know, G42 is a collection of AI companies from infrastructure to AI solutions for different industries. We like to say we are full stack, full service, end-to-end AI player. But it's really divided into two divisions. One is AI infrastructure. We call this the token factory. The factory that consists of our Hasna company, our Core 42 company, who are focused on the most efficient, most cost-effective token generation, the units of intelligence come out of this big frontier models that's been trained, now we inference it. But all these tokens mean nothing until they are packaged in the right way to serve industries. That's the other half of G42, which now we call the agentic or agent factory. These tokens need to be packaged intelligently by agents. By definition, agents are the digital twins of who we are, the work we do, our industries. So on the agentic side of things, we are doing incredible amount of collaboration right now with our university, MBZ, University of AI. I'm fortunate to be a board member of this university. I'm especially proud of the fact that earlier this year, we launched the undergrad program at MBZUI. Those of you who are based in this region, I'm sure you read all about it. We were completely oversubscribed. Is that the right term to say, oversubscribed? So many applicants, and we took only less than 4% of the applicants from around the world to come into this university undergrad program. But here's the most interesting part. I'll give you a number that may surprise you. These undergrad students, the average age, I think, is around 17 or 18. And this is their freshman class. Half of all of them already started their own companies. They have their own companies. And they are the only human employee in these companies, most of them. They are the CEO, and they have a team of agents, AI agents, who are doing HR, procurement, but most importantly, research, R&D, product development work for them. So the university now is a power base for us to really understand not only where the leading edge of frontier model development is, but also how to deeply embed this utility in everything we do in our daily lives. I have to tell you this, we have very accomplished engineers at G42 and really good researchers also, but the part that's most exciting for me, most energizing, is to see this internship program from both undergrad students and also the masters and PhD and postdocs from MBCUI to work with us. I'll give you one small example. I believe it was only last night, there was a big event here in Dubai called UAE AI Awards or something.
Yeah.
And they recognized at this event that there's one startup called, I think it's called GenBio, Generative Biology, GenBio, recognized as a leading startup that was incubated in our region. This startup, I'm happy to share with you, was incubated right here at MBZ University of Artificial Intelligence by students and faculty members who are determined to take AlphaFold to the next level, generative biology. So we are drawing on that energy, that base of research, that knowledge base, to fuse the university's output with our commercial development at G42.
This is indeed remarkable, knowing that one of the 3 T's is talent, and I believe with the work that you're doing, you're taking it to another level, to a level beyond just enabling communities, but really going deeper into enabling the agenda of innovation. And the fact that, you know, the creation of digital natives and startups is just inspiring, because from what I witness as I go around the territory that I cover, most of the disruption is coming from those digital natives and startups because they have no legacy. They are coming to this with a fresh perspective, and basically they have got nothing to lose. They are going all in.
Allow me to just comment on that, to echo what Brad said earlier. I'm going to steal this line from him later. That is, in the age of AI, a user is a builder. Don't sit passively thinking you are only receiving the next release from OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini. Don't just sit here and wait and watch the scoreboard how they are improving certain features. AI is advancing through actual usage. And if you are creating agents, if you understand how inferencing actually works, if you embed in your daily workload, in your office, productivity workflow to actually leverage AI, you are actually doing the reinforcement learning. You are putting your fingerprint, your DNA into the AI to be tailored better for you. So being an active user is as important, in many cases more important than being just the builder sitting in a lab somewhere in California.
So in a way, everyone is contributing to the intelligence grid, right? Sometimes even by just being a user.
Absolutely.
Brad, I want to go back to 2019. Ahead of generative AI becoming the topic that is shaping the humanity and how we will address challenges on the planet, from climate to healthcare and anything in between. You released the book, Tools and Weapons. You spoke there about the opportunities, but also the threats. And today, we are witnessing nations, customers, but individuals questioning how much of an opportunity there is there, but how much of a threat exists with AI. And obviously, we, as Microsoft, we believe that there is no way for AI diffusion to happen unless trust is foundational and at the heart of everything. From that perspective, I wanted to hear from you on how you see that trust evolving and the role also that you have witnessed here in UAE in this agile regulatory framework that UAE is adopting. To what extent do you believe that there is a proof of concept from the UAE, something that the UAE is doing that can inspire regulators and nations that, as you travel the world, you are interfacing with? That fear and opportunity balance and that ability to regulate as you adopt?
I would say a couple things. I mean, first, what we recognized when we wrote our book in 2019 is that technology has always been both a tool and a weapon. I think we used the example that you can use a broom to sweep a floor or hit somebody over the head. And so, as technology has become more powerful, it has become more important as a tool, and it constantly has become more dangerous as a weapon. If you believe, as I think we do, that AI it has the potential to be the most powerful and beneficial tool in the history of humanity, well, then you're forced to recognize that there's lots of things that can go wrong. There's challenges as well. And this is going to be a huge part of the next quarter of a century in which what we talk about, what we work on, what governments address. So, what are some of the things that are happening here that I do think are part of what I'll call the right approach? Well, one of the things that can go wrong is obviously AI can increase opportunities for some and reduce opportunities for others. New jobs get created, existing jobs get changed, some existing jobs may get eliminated over time. That's always part of the course of technology. How do you ensure that you maximize the creation of jobs and reduce the displacement? It goes back to what Peng was saying. You build a nation with a culture where users become builders and really master the skills to put this to work. And this is where I think that the rapid progress the UAE is making on skilling is one key part of a regulatory framework. And I think it was so smart to frankly start with and continue to focus on the skills needed by people in government. Because if the government is using AI in ways that improve services to the public, it really inspires everyone in the private sector and across the country as a whole. I do think a second part of it is then around responsible AI. That you have to give people confidence that there's a level of ethics that are going into this, that there are guardrails on the technologies. And I think that there's enormous amount of consternation in the world today that we don't yet know how to strike the balance. We've seen in Europe the EU AI Act, and that has gone quite far with regulation that feels pretty heavy enough that it's not that unusual for me to meet with startup leaders who either are in Europe and are thinking of leaving or asking whether they should, or maybe they've come here or somewhere else and say, I've left because the regulation has gotten in the way of innovation. In the United States, the pendulum has swung quite far over the last 12 months, and it's going to continue to swing to some degree over the next decade. I think what inspires me here is when I see not just companies, but government agencies and the leadership of the Emirates taking it on themselves to say, we don't necessarily need a law to decide to do the right thing. So to me, the right thing is very much grounded in a first principle. Look, we're doing this to improve the lives of our people and show people that their lives are being improved, and constantly communicate about that commitment to improve people's lives. Because without that ongoing communication, I don't think trust can be built and sustained. But you do need a compliance infrastructure. And that's what we've had the opportunity to do with G42 over the last year and a half. As just one example, I was incredibly impressed yesterday when I was at Abu Dhabi and visited TAM. And they were describing, in effect, the compliance infrastructure for their agents, so that there's an audit trail to know, what data is the agent accessing. There's version control. In a sense, for any of you who work closely, or even just from a distance, but with software today, there's so much to be learned by thinking about the kind of governance infrastructure that we have created to, say, protect cybersecurity, especially over the last decade, as well as other principles. And then we have to think anew. What does it mean to bring this to a new era when users are builders, builders are creating agents, agents are working in organizations, but just as you have HR rules for the people, human resources, the question that I was sitting there thinking about yesterday is, will we have AR rules, agent rules, so that both the humans and the agents have certain performance expectations and even guardrails. And you just realize, I think, when you see this, when you have these conversations, we are at a very early stage and figuring out how this technology should evolve. And then you appreciate that thoughtful, innovative people are the ones who are going to show us all the way. And I do find coming here, somebody who was with us said, 20 years ago, people would come to the UAE and say, you should come to our country and come visit us so you can learn from us. Now we come to the UAE so that we can learn. And I think we'll all continue to learn from each other, but the AI frontier is one of the frontier fields where I think that mutual learning is so important, and frankly, where the kind of innovation here is just so inspiring.
Well,
Samer, would you allow me to introduce two data points
please,
to really echo what Brad is saying and really commend Brad and some of our team members, G42, to have envisaged and implemented this responsible AI framework from several years ago. Over the past couple years, all of us becoming fairly skilled prompters. We ask AI, AI answers us. We got more and more fascinated by the intelligence, the growing intelligence of AI sitting there waiting for us to give us answers. But over the past 6 months, two things happened, and I'll give you two examples I think are very important why responsible AI is now a necessity, not just a nice slogan to put out there. Number one, content creation. I recently just had a meeting with the founders of Skydance. You guys know this movie studio. 100% of the movie production they do today and the shows they do are done in the cloud using AI technology. So now leveraging Sora, leveraging Veo from Google and other video engines that are Gen AI powered, they can produce content so realistic, seasoned producers in the movie industry cannot tell the difference. Certainly we as an audience cannot tell the difference anymore. I will not mention the name of the company. One of our companies, Abu Dhabi, recently had one incident. The CFO received a voice note on WhatsApp, sounded just like the chairman, to authorize a €1 million payment to a particular vendor. Guess what? The payment was issued, and it was a fake transaction. The recipient was a schemer. This is a real story. This happened. So generative content now has entered our work flow. And if we do not take it seriously, our business will suffer. And the second thing I'll mention is something I discussed with Brad just a few days ago. That is, I like this idea of AR, HR and AR rules. These agents are now no longer just in a lab. They are in our offices, in our homes already, AI agents. Today, we're talking about transactions still going through a voicemail from the chairman to a CFO to release a payment. In the future, HR agents, finance agents, they'll be transacting with each other. They'll be transacting with other external agents. How do you even verify the identity of these agents? Can they even trust each other? Forget about us trusting them. Can they trust each other? So there will be this explosion of transactions, end-to-end level transaction all around us. If we don't put the right framework together now will be completely overwhelmed.
Well, thank you very much. I want to close by stating that people ask me what got Microsoft to partner with UAE, why Microsoft has decided to put equity in G42. And is it the
This is for the investment.
Is it the availability and the affordability of the sources of energy, the strategy of UAE on renewables, because we know that AI requires a lot of that? Or is it also because this is a country that has positioned itself to be even a sandbox in the context of adopting and trying? I say yes, yes, yes on all, but I would say that what we decided to bet on, and I want to thank Brad here for architecting this partnership, is that we decided to bet on the vision of the leadership, but also on the mindset. The mindset that has shown us the art of possible, the approach of AI as an opportunity to diversify, and the fact that history is being written about celebrating when the last barrel of oil will be shipped out of this country. So thank you both for being on the journey, 2 years already, and I'm looking forward for decades to come as we cement this partnership for the UAE and from the UAE to the world. Thank you very much.